I thought that basically they were just. I thought it was really disappointing. I mean, I realized that it's actually a very nice document, the Asian Carp Control Strategy Framework. I mean, it does pull together some of the important information, but it doesn't really address, I don't think, the key issue. And it really sort of seems to come down to the $7 billion sport fishing industry versus, in other words, I don't think that they're talking about this in the right terms. You're talking about an ecosystem. That's what I care about. But they're talking about it as jobs for, like, barge transportation and whoever else makes their living getting things through the ship canal versus the sport fishing industry. So it seems like they're talking about it in a dollar and cents kind of thing when it really should be an ecosystem issue.
Well, I think even in terms of dollar and cents, we have a lot to be concerned about. Not just the $7 billion Great Lakes fishing industry, but the recreational opportunities. The fact that we get our drinking water from the Great Lakes. I mean, the Great Lakes provide innumerable, valuable economic services to people living in Chicago. But I think that there's a short-term and a long-term problem. In the long term, I don't think we should be constrained to depending on the canal. I mean, I can imagine a future where the ecosystems are separated, where there is a vibrant, multimodal shipping port that moves freight from barges to rail, employs Illinoisans, uses great environmental practices, and ends our dependence on this 70-year-old man-made connection to the Mississippi River. And that's the thing, the only viable permanent solution for keeping carp out of the lakes is permanently separating these two waterways. I agree. And that's,
But once you do that, how are you going to keep the barges in the shipping transport? Once you close it, how are they going to get in here?
The only 1% of the freight that moves in and around Chicago is ever on a barge. Right. Let me back up a second. The Army Corps of Engineers, as an author of this document, is primarily concerned with navigation. And we're concerned that they're too biased towards preserving navigation. And so we're concerned that all options are not on the table. And we're also concerned that our dependence on barge traffic has been overstated, that the economic impact of separation has been overstated. And when only 1% of freight travels by barge in the Chicago area, when only about 1,000 recreational boats go through the locks each year, I just think that comparing that to the possible ruining of the Great Lakes ecosystem is just no contest, and we need to think creatively. I think it will be a net positive for Chicago jobs and the economy if we think creatively about this.
Right, but if I talked to a guy that ran the port of Milwaukee or whatever a couple years back when they wanted to shut down we'll close everything off because of invasive species and hemorrhagic septicemia in fish and all kinds of other good things that were being brought in by, we thought, the ballast from barges in shipping. And he was like saying, but all this corn gets shipped in and out. They bring things in, we ship things out, but really, if you look at the numbers, yes, a lot of ports would shut down, but really, they don't make that much money. There isn't that many much goods and that much money involved in these operations because, for one thing, only certain sizes of ships can get through there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to have an accurate accounting of exactly how much traffic uses this connection. We need to have economists weigh in. We need to have geologists weigh in. I mean, there's just the prospect of separating permanently two ecosystems has, many impacts. It's very complicated, and what we really need is an honest accounting of the costs and benefits of doing it. Here's what I think needs to happen. I think that the federal government needs to commit to making permanent ecological separation the goal of its long-term study of what to do, and setting that as the goal, then figure out all of these details so we can do it in the best way that's the best for the economy and the ecosystems. And that's what's not in this document in the long term, and that's what's disappointing about their plan.
It is a disappointing document, but at least they're thinking about it now because the problem has become so urgent. My only concern with this is, and I think everyone should be concerned, is that basically I think someone said in a meeting the other day, the carp are moving faster than the agencies and our response to them.
That is a totally good point. Yeah.
Max Muller from Environment Illinois, thank you very much for being on the show today. We've been talking about all kinds of wonderful things, and if you tune in next week, there are more fascinating guests who are concerned with doing good in the world. And our host next week will be Michael James. But in the meantime, thank you to Katie Hogan for engineering, Evan West for running tech and video taping, and all my guests here today on Live from the Heartland. You have been listening to WLUW 88.7 Chicago Sound Alliance. Talk to you next week.